Captain Smoothie voice. Yeah, thanks. I've been told I should be a hostage negotiator, and I fear for all of the people who would be in my hands if that were the case. Although I do have my coffee first this time, so I should be a little bit more chill as a result. I think it's probably also worth luxury ice cream, yeah. I feel like I should probably mention if the build crashes like it did yesterday, the stream seemed like it also crashed, and if we all have to migrate, I'll repost the link for the broadcast page, and we should hopefully be able to make the jump over. With any luck, this build is slightly more stable than the demo, which I apologize for you all suffering through, but progress is good. Alright, I guess I'll get started here, and people can pop in when they're ready. So today, first of all, I'm Dan Fedor, for anyone who wasn't here yesterday. I'm the developer behind Ostranauts and previously Neoscavenger. Yesterday we showed the demo that you can currently play on the Steam Festival of Games. Today I'm actually going to take a different track and show you basically the latest development build on my machine, just because it shows a few of the things and how they've changed. And you can kind of get a sense for where things are going towards the early access launch. Not a lot has changed here on the main menu, although we do have a manual now, a very crude one, but it's a manual. We have these links now to take you to feedback forums because already we're starting to get some great feedback, and I welcome any feedback on the demo and eventually on the game when it's out. But we'll dive in and create a new character here. This is the obligatory warning: you're about to play an early access build. Starts pretty much like the demo did, although we do have some new facial variety in here. If I hit the randomize button a bunch of times, you might see a few new character features show up, including the mullet you just saw pass through there. And a couple people were asking yesterday, are all of the characters just sitting there with their mouth open? They do initially until they get a mood attached to them, and then they'll either smile, frown, or snarl or whatever. We'll go with this interesting looking character, Kang Wilkerson. And this is also pretty similar to the demo, although there are a few changes in here worth noting. First of all, the sidebar has been kind of revamped to show you progress and summary kind of as you go, and you can also kind of see overall progress up here. And the other thing that was more of a minor annoyance, but some of the demo players have already run into, is when you make a choice during character creation here, it auto-scrolls now. So you don't have to find the button yourself, you can just click. But it's the same as yesterday, where we choose a career, and then at various points in that career, events happen, and the choices we make in those events determine who we are in terms of the skills we have. So over here you can actually see a summary of it. I began my career as a shipbreaker, and I have skills in spaceship engineering, zero-G ops, software engineering, hacking. I am diligent, a genius, and observant because I chose to hack this person I found in a bar. When I chose hack them, I get some sort of hackery type personality traits. Plus, I basically got some pay data that I could now add to my net worth. Plus, I now have an enemy. It was probably Mary that I hacked and sold her info on the black market, so she doesn't like me now. And she will appear in the universe. Let's remember, Mary Merritt should be on K-Leg. If I manage to dock with K-Leg in this game, we should see her there. So then I'm given an opportunity to take a risky venture to make money. I don't want to take the risk. I'm still pretty new at being a shipbreaker. So I skip that. We get another opportunity to pilfer here. I'm just going to look up at the chat, catch up to what's going on there. Manuel relay instructions. Trying to find the mirror. Oh, you had trouble finding the mirror. Okay, so if you ever run into that issue, the objectives menu in the lower right-hand corner is a little eye with a blue circle around it. You can click on any of those objectives and the camera should focus on the thing that's relevant to it. And then heads up regarding the stream, it's not showing at either the Steam Fest page or the game's own store page. Yeah, that was yesterday too. Even though I put that into basically the pipeline for the Steam Festival, it only seemed to show up on the broadcast page, so I don't know. So Lightbringer, thanks for that heads up, and if I'm correct, that's the same broadcast page I just mentioned. I'll repost it here, actually. Hopefully I won't lose everybody in the process. I'm just going to throw that into the chat. If I do get disconnected for some reason and you need to reacquire chat, that should be the URL where you see me reappear. Because, yeah, yesterday that seemed to basically buck a whole bunch of people midstream. So yeah, I apologize for Steam/stream issues. So here we are, faced with another sort of rich person in the bar, and we decide to get them drunk. We'll sort of fake befriend them, steal a bunch of their secrets. Actually, it turns out we kind of buddied up to them. They kind of like us. They're a contact, Enzo Gabriel Newman. So now we have a couple contacts waiting for us on K-Leg and a boatload of cash. We're now pretty well healed at $6,300. So now we find a rare salvage opportunity. Let's bribe our boss. You'll notice if you watch me play this often enough, I tend to choose the same choices. I'm predictable that way. And how do I want to sort of stack the cards in my favor on a typical day at work? Well, I'm going to mislabel this crate so that we get the tools we need, and we get a friend, Sarah Hamilton. And I actually haven't been paying attention to my message log down here, but it looks like I am an overindulger. I'm gregarious. What else do we have here? Oh, a glutton. Pretty persuasive. I guess I know how to sing. I haven't built anything to take advantage of that, but that's in there. And I know street etiquette. All right, let's see. Another repeat of this. Let's start a riot this time, see what happens. New enemy, a bartender. Okay, so we pissed off the bartender. And a new enemy, Tope Francis Stone. Yeah, I'm not surprised I made some enemies there. But I also now have arrogant, folk etiquette, and ground tactics. Currently there's no combat in the game, but I think it'll be pretty straightforward to translate the Neo Scavenger style combat into the socializing UI that you've seen in the demo, because it's basically the same system. The same kind of data gets used. The only difference there is you can actually see the map in Ostranauts, whereas in Neo Scavenger it was more abstract. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Cyrus says the sink and the mirror have different nomenclature, and oops, you're right. So, and yeah, Neo Scavenger there are some echoes of Neo Scavenger even here in the character creation. You kind of go through a process, although in this case you actually define your character a little bit more. So there's hopefully some more personalization there. And at the ripe old age of 47, we finally get an opportunity to take a ship of our own, another salvage pod like yesterday, to start exploring with. A couple people have asked, and I think the starting age I'm going to be dialing down just by making the career terms shorter than 4 years. Right now they're just kind of arbitrarily 4 years. So we'll probably switch that so that you don't start your game past middle age. So let's take our ship. We will proceed to the launch area. Actually, before we'll do that, though, there's a thing here which wasn't in the demo, and that is the supply kiosk. And it's basically my brute force way of doing trade until I get a better trade system. Anyone who's played RimWorld will probably recognize this layout. This is everything that is for sale and everything you have. So you have currently only these two objects here, the portal PDA and the sea green coveralls. And I'm actually I'm gonna sell these coveralls because I'm gonna replace them further down here with this pressure suit. I only have 6,300, so I won't have enough for a full EVA suit, which has its own O2 recycling system in it. But the pressure suit is kind of like the poor man's version of that. It's just a sealed suit that will fill up with CO2 if I'm in it for too long. But at least it'll keep me alive for a brief period while I'm derelict diving. And I'm also going to buy a work lamp. Let's see. I'm going to get a couple hull patches just in case. A crowbar. I can afford it, so what the heck. I'll buy a Weber laser torch and a drill. So I'm actually pretty fully kitted out here. This was a good start for me. I mean, as you can see, I only spent 1,500, so I'm going to have some spare cash. I'll accept that. And I'm carrying a moderate load. So let's go over here and see. Actually, let's put some clothes on. Obey the laws of decency. And I'm going to turn this work lamp on and equip it in my hand. You should notice now that's like really bright here. You might be able to see actually if I take it out of my hand it gets dark again. So this is sort of like a poor man's EVA suit to light my way. So we'll go over here to the self-care kiosk, and do I have feeble? Yeah, I do. So I'm going to get rid of feeble, and that's why I was carrying a moderate load even though I've just got a couple things. If I get rid of that, my burden indicator goes away. So that should help. And let's see, I'm arrogant. I can deal with some of these. That's fine. I always like to take a comedian just because I'm guaranteed dark jokes every now and then. So I can use those in socializing. And we'll accept that. Like yesterday, you're going to be hearing Josh Culler's music. He did the music on Neo Scavenger, and there's more tracks playing probably in today's stream than you'll hear in the demo, so you might hear some new stuff. Looking over at the chat, it seems like a neat take on the life path system. Yes, Traveler, absolutely. It is very heavily influenced by Traveler. I thought that was a cool system for creating characters. Does age directly influence your character's physical condition? Not yet. It should. When I eventually do add it to my list of inflating other things to do, I think that's going to be on there. And will all stores have a buy-sell option? I don't think they should. I think, yeah, I mean, that's a good question. You go to like a trader, sure, they're going to buy and sell stuff, like a pawn shop or something. But if you go to, you know, a convenience store or something like that, they should only be selling you stuff. So, yeah, I think that'll be a little bit more nuanced in the future. Right now, this is the brute force way of transacting in the universe. So I'll go down and get my launch on here. Take a sip of my coffee. All right, so another recap before we head out, and then we launch. And there's going to be a screen here that's sort of new to any demo players. This is kind of the proto version of a Neo Scavenger-like encounter screen. So I'd like to have these sort of in and out of the game at various points, you know, when something important happens or when you make choices. So it's a lot of this down here is still the social UI you saw in the demo, and it's carbon copied from Neo Scavenger. You have choices here, preview of your action, and then you can see the message log here. But up here, I hope to have more chances to use some of this awesome artwork. This is Charlie Martin's artwork, and then do some interesting kind of interactive encounter type things. And we are in our salvage pod, just a dinky little room with an airlock. Few extra pieces here, which you may not remember from the demo. In fact, I think the whole salvage pod is a little bit different shaped now. So you can see we now have this, it's a Mura Hydra RCS distributions system. Each of these blue circles is an N2 tank. This is our reaction control system fuel supply. And then you'll notice there's these little orange kind of things sticking out of the corners of the ship. Those are our reaction control thrusters. So now that's actually a part of the game. In the demo, it was just kind of faked away as happening behind the scenes. We also have our heater, our cooler. These are alarms for the O2 levels and the temperature. And you've got this thing right here, which I threw in there because I thought I'd be clever and add a master switch to the salvage pod so that you could switch it off when you're investigating a derelict. Because if you look here in the top left corner, this battery is very slowly ticking down. It has 76 kilowatt hours in it, and that's going down every second. If I hit this switch here and I toggle it, now we're completely powered down. And if I hover over the battery, you'll notice it's pegged at 76, and it'll hold there. So like I said, I thought I was being clever because what I did wrong was I put the switch inside the airlock. So if I want to turn the ship off, I can't get through my door without prying it open. And then if I open the airlock, all the air rushes out. So it's like I either get to drain my air or my power. In the eventual game, I'll probably fix this, but even if I didn't, you could literally go power switch, uninstall, and then go down here somewhere and reinstall it as long as the conduits went up to it. I guess the other thing I should mention is that this battery has inputs from this side, the little input arrow there, and an output there. So the output goes straight into that switch, which is why when I flip the switch, the rest of the ship powers down. So you can kind of build circuits in the game. You can even kind of build circuits in the demo if the demo doesn't crash on you before you finish. But that's kind of the level of depth I'm hoping people will have in this game, is that they can basically rearrange everything to their heart's content. And if they find a workflow for like an awesome ship layout where they do have the power switch in here, they can go and do it. So I'm going to hop on the nav station, and while I do that, I'm going to catch up on chat. And pop that out of the way. So, hey Jen, joined the stream late. Apologies. Don't apologize to me. Glad you're looking forward to it though. Show off a bit of the navigation. Yes, I'm about to do the navigation controls because the demo is extremely struggly. They basically don't work. You could, I think, fly. I think I was able to because I knew absolutely everything about the system, but it's not meant to work. It's more of to give you a taste of where it's going. And today we'll show you more of what it is. So I am currently outside of K-Leg Station on 1036 Ganymede, and these yellow things around it are the junkyard. They're unidentified blips on my radar. I'm actually in kind of a blank space over here. So I might click on this guy, and we can see we have no information on it, but we are moving at 11, almost 12 meters per second relative to it, and it is 91 kilometers away. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to vector over there. I'm going to turn my ship. Let's see here. So I have my RCS mode turned on. Now in the game, it's turned on by default, and you're zoomed in to station level by default. I think the demo, it's not like that. And so now I'm pointing at it, and I'm going to give it a good heave on the RCS controls. I'm just using the WASD controls and Q&E to control my ship, basically like a game of asteroids. We're up to 500 meters per second here. It's a little bit unrealistic right now because it shouldn't be able to accelerate that quickly. But for testing purposes, we've been leaving it pretty powerful. So now you can see we're moving at 26 meters per second relative to our target. Our range is closing, 78 kilometers. If I zoom in, I also added these sort of projections of where you're going to be 2, 4, 8, and 10 seconds into the future. If I hit any of the controls to accelerate, you can see that kind of diverge from the path to give you basically a sense of where you're going to go based on what you're doing. But this is going to take a while, and that is why there is a fast forward system down here, also with the square bracket keys. So I can go 4 times speed, 8. You can see I'm coming up pretty close, pretty fast now. So for short-term fast forward, that's probably the way it's going to work. In the eventual game, I think there's going to be like a fade to black fast forward of some kind so that it resumes 12 hours later when something interesting happens. That'll be for more long-term trips across the system. Right now we're just kind of flying around local space in K-Leg. So we're coming up on 16 kilometers from this unknown vessel. And we're going to deflect a little bit. You can see VCRS here. This is something new we added to kind of give you a sense for how well targeted you are. When this is 0, you're pointed right at it, and negative is a little bit to the left. I'm going to apply some backward thrust here. You can see my projections going back. My proximity alarm just came on because I'm within 5 kilometers. And I'm just going to kind of adjust my thrust so that I'm still pointed at it, and then slow down just a little bit more. Okay. So now is a good time to switch to the docking UI. And that's either this, or the right arrow. And the docking UI, we select what we're going to dock with, currently unknown. Clearance doesn't make sense here because it's not an actual air traffic control. So I think in the final game there's going to be different ways of docking with things that are live, like a station, versus things which are... Oops. All right. Some of you might have just heard a thud. I think I just bumped into it. Anyway, I'm going to accept parameters for now, but eventually there'll be just like a manual dock without an air traffic control to get permission from. And I'm going to turn my ship about here to kind of line up with the docking ring on the other ship. This is a little fiddly still. And then we're going to vector towards it a little bit. Keep our velocity under 100 meters per second because otherwise we'll crash. And we're aligned for a clamp. Engage our clamps. Okay, we are clamped. We get the red light to tell us we're clamped. So I'll go back here. We're basically superimposed now right on top of that guy, and I'll get off the nav console. We are down to 54 kilowatt hours on this battery, so I think what I'm going to do, rather than turn off this ship and risk losing air, I'm going to see if I can find a battery on this derelict, because we can maybe try and hook it up to this salvage pod. First thing I'll do, though, is I'll close my inner airlock and put my helmet on. You may or may not have been able to hear the sound effects change when the helmet's on, and they will also change if the air goes out of the room you're in. It's a little bit buggy still, even in my build, but that's kind of the thing we want to do too, is that you can hear sort of diagnostic information as well as see it. So we're going to go through the airlock now. And all right, so we've got, looks like a crate here. It has a crate inside it. That's a bug. There shouldn't be crates inside of crates, but I'll grab it anyway. We also have a work lamp. I'm just going to leave that on the floor and turn it on. Can't hurt. And then let's go pick up that fire extinguisher. Okay. So, let's see. Some amount of engineering in the game. Yeah, I'd like there to be. Like, I want you to be able to fiddle and make stuff happen. Make the ship of your dreams. You know, if you want to make Serenity or Millennium Falcon or whatever, I want people to feel like they can, at least to a degree. So, yeah, complete freedom is the name of the game, as much as I can. We're going to pry our way through this door because we have a crowbar. And looks like a drill. There's some coveralls on the floor. This looks like a bunch of heating equipment. Oh, I think I know which kind of ship this is. This is one of the earlier ship designs I created. I'm starting to recognize the layout. So we'll go open up this door. Yeah, so this is all like the cooling systems and Atmo. There's a whole bunch of Atmo stuff in here, and these mostly look like they're full. So I think in a ship like this, the power systems are over this way. Let's go check it out. I can kind of see the reactor chamber there. Inside here, maybe? Take a sip. Is there a way to tell whether the derelict ships have pressure when you've docked and before you open the airlock? That's a good question. Right now there is, and it's kind of cheating because I can just move my cursor around and the top left corner will show you the pressure where the cursor is, which is kind of like what RimWorld did, and it worked for now. But yeah, I think long term I should make the airlocks basically have a sensor built into them, or you can install like a sensor manually on the other side of them and then just watch that sensor to see what it does. So yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I think I want something for that. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. Okay, I see the reactor. I see a couple batteries up here too. I can just hover over them to see if they're full. You can see most have 80 kilowatt hours, but they do have control panels on them, this is actually the first control panel that was ever in the game, which is why it looks so crude. But there you go. Little history there. So let's grab... I don't think we're going to need all of these on this ship. I don't know if I want to take this ship, so I'm just going to take stuff from it. Let's uninstall that battery. And the blue line at the bottom is overall progress. It's a little bit slow because I don't think I got electronic engineering skills during character creation. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Okay. And then that'll pop into uninstalled. Oops, that guy there. Will pop into uninstalled mode. And for now, you can put anything in your pocket, which is not realistic, I realize. But until I get better transportation, built in, we're going to just basically put it in our pocket. There it is, giant battery. Oh, and this guy's still there, so let's take him out. While we're here, we might as well pry this guy open and see if it had anything in it. And then it was empty, so I carried that all the way over for nothing. All right, let's grab one more battery. Uninstall that guy. Okay, and then we'll pick that guy up as well. Do we have room in our... Okay, we still have a little bit of room, so I'm going to grab a couple of these conduits as well. Let's see, conduit, uninstall. I don't know if I'm going to need them to hook these batteries up, but it never hurts to have a little spare. And that just popped onto the floor. We'll do one more. And so one of the things we're seeing here is that it takes a while to do stuff. And if I hover over my character, you can see he's got about 4 kilopascals of CO2 building up in his pressure helmet. Oxygen's starting to run a little bit low. I'm likely to start getting minor hypoxia soon. Eventually, the point of getting a crew is partially this. Like, this takes a while to do. And like, if I wanted to, I could say, I want you to uninstall everything under my cursor. Here, and like you could paint jobs in the game and then the crew will just do those jobs. So there's going to be lots of work to do, and you may not want to just manually, serially do it all, like micro-controlling your character. So that's one thing for a crew. Another thing is you have to sleep sometime, and also you have to talk to people sometime or you're going to go insane. So there are some things that will make you benefit from having crew, but then having crew is going to mean more fat mouths to feed, more people to pay, more people to keep happy with their social needs. So yeah, that's kind of where the crew system is going. You got a little view of the sort of build menus here, which are kind of like the RimWorld build menus, and then you can sort of manually do it the way I've been doing with the batteries here. Well, I'll let him finish, and then we'll grab those 3 conduits and go. Okay. I think you can stop working. All right, pick up this guy and let's see, conduit, pick up. There we go. And the third one fell on the other side of the wall, or I don't think it's worth going for it. Kamal says, "Hey Dan, the dev build looks a lot more polished than the demo." Well, thank God. I was a little worried when I heard some of the feedback on the demo. I knew it was rough, but it's rough. And it's good to see that folks see some improvement in the dev build. So we're going to go up here. And, no, I don't open that door yet. I want to close my airlock before I open the inner airlock. So before I do that, I paused it just now. You can see down here. This room, if you look in the top left corner, it has O2 23 kilopascals, N2 80 kilopascals, and CO2 there's a trace amount. As soon as this door opens, watch those numbers. So the air has started bleeding out into this little area that got evacuated in the airlock. But you also see the O2 started trickling up again because this pump right here is drawing out of that green canister into this main chamber. So it's basically auto-refilling itself based on this pump. And if I go to this pump and I say control panel, it's set to auto mode. Auto mode is looking for a signal from a detector. That signal is basically saying, I'm low on air, pump some more. And I think this is where the demo broke yesterday, but I think the dev build's good on this. I basically say, I want this input to be this guy right here. And you'll get like a little wavy line when it's a good hit, like a thing that sends signals. So we hook that up, and it shows there. We say done, close the hatch. So now this guy is running off of the signal here. When he turns red, this guy pumps, assuming they both have power. You could potentially hook this guy up to the wrong thing. Like you could hook it up to the temperature signal, and if it's cold in here, it'll start pumping oxygen in, which might slightly raise the temperature due to pressure, but yeah, it won't have the effect that you want. And the first time I noticed what kinds of bad things happened there was when I hooked up my heater to a thermostat in a different room, and the door between them was closed. And when I finally got to the heater, the room was like baking hot. It was hundreds of degrees in that room, like an oven, basically. So you can cook yourself alive just by poorly installing your equipment. All of the ships that you encounter in the game should be set up for normal human use. Like the ship was set up correctly. So as long as you don't mess with it, you won't have to know all these technical details, but if you want to mess with them, you can. And then... Uh-oh. The stream is buffering, I see. I just got a load of messages all at once, so does that mean the stream has come back for you? Let me just try typing. Okay, can folks hear me now? It looks like somebody can see me now, which might be a good sign. If you're... oh, cool. Cool. Actually, this time it looks like only the stream died, but the chat stayed alive, which that's actually an improvement over yesterday, but still not great. Steam... Big echo. I don't know why there's a big echo. Unless it was just a glitch while I was switching windows here. I'm going to try... No, okay, so maybe it's just different users are hearing different things. That's actually a possibility too, yeah. If there's another tab open with the stream, it could be slightly off. So before I lost you guys last time, I tried saving the game, and I'm going to try loading it here to see what happens. Captain Kang Wilkerson. Let's see what happens. Normally this works pretty well. Okay, I'm going to hit pause just for safety's sake. Normally what happens when there's a glitch loading a save game, I'm off target from where I left. Like my ship is offset by like a couple 100 kilometers. So we'll deal with that if that comes up. But what I was going to show you just before we disappeared was the reinstallation of batteries. Okay, this battery is down to 6 kilowatt hours, which means it's about to power off the whole ship. So I'm still paused. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop one battery on the ground right away. And then I'm going to take that battery, start an install job on it. I'm going to rotate it so that the output goes into this wall, which will feed all of the things on that wall's. There's a circuit on this wall you can kind of see running the length of the outside of the ship. So if the red arrow points into that, it should power the ship. So let me unpause now. And then he grabs the source object, doesn't turn around while he starts drilling, but we'll pretend he did. And he's starting to install it. This is slowly ticking down still. You like the new wall and floor textures? Oh, good. Compared to the demo, everything looks much cleaner. It's easier to distinguish. Yeah, actually, another thing we did in this version is we started to add more variety. There's only two, I think, 2 or 3 different kinds of floors and walls, but it would be nice if you could basically get kind of like designy or decorative with your ship design, so it feels a little bit more like your creation. And when you go from one derelict to the other, it'll feel a little bit more like an actual different ship. But yeah, there's hopefully some more design options coming. Down to 4. This is going to be close. I'd fast forward, but that's just going to fast forward our demise. Yeah, let's do it anyway, see what happens. 3 kilowatt hours. 2. Oh, he installed it. Okay. It'll be hard to notice, but it's now going down slower because 2 batteries are draining instead of 1. This guy's now 80.3, and that should keep us a bit longer. However, this... Oh, interesting. I was going to say this is a bug, but it's not. I thought he would grab the battery on the ground and install that to the wall, but he grabbed the one out of his pocket and did that first, which, now that I think of it, is probably more correct. But while we're at it, let's just finish the job and put a second battery in here. Does that fit? Yeah, okay. And then we'll fast forward through this one because it's not too exciting to watch. But at least that gives us twice as much as our original operating time. Now that this one's completely drained, we still have basically 160 in reserve kilowatt hours. So I'm going to hop back on here. Oh, shoot, I forgot. So down in the message log here, I paused it again. Ken Wilkerson is feeling hypoxic, and I totally forgot he's sitting in a sealed helmet without any air supply. And if we look at his stats, he now has 7.6 kilopascals of CO2 and only 15 of oxygen. So he's basically suffocating inside what amounts to a plastic bag over his head. We're going to take his helmet off so he doesn't die. Let's see, put that there. And then give him a second to catch his breath. So my oxygen and all those stats disappears as soon as I take the helmet off because my body is no longer airtight. But if we give ourselves a minute or two, I'll fast forward. And the expression on the face is pretty normal too. It actually looks like we're okay. The expression turns really drastic if they're not getting enough air and they're starting to get hypoxic. So I think we averted crisis there. And yeah, it looks like we're in the middle of nowhere based on that save load bug I told you about. I'll zoom out a bit. I'll hit the planet default zoom level. So that's where we should be, over here in the K-Leg local space area. We just somehow got teleported only 170,000 kilometers away. So there is a thing that I'm going to do here which won't be in the final game probably. Debug jump right here to basically get out of weird situations like this, because hopefully this bug won't happen. But I'm going to zoom. I'm going to switch to target tracking mode so that the screen follows my target instead of my ship. Zoom back in on that, and that's the derelict we were attached to. That's actually the derelict. Are we still attached to it? I thought we were. Yeah, it's right there. Okay, that's a pretty crazy bug. So we'll hop on here and zoom out to our ship, and then we'll zoom in on something we want to be near. Come on, get in there. All right, so I'm going to auto dock over here. So close your eyes and pretend I didn't just use a debug command. And let's also make sure it didn't crash the game, which I think it actually did. Interesting. So it looks like I loaded the new ship in that I docked with without unloading the old ship, and that's a bug too. So we may be in trouble. Let me. I'm gonna try. What can I do here? So if I quit, well, I think this game might be hooped at this point, because if I quit, it's going to autosave, and that's going to replace the slot. But I don't think we're going to lose any progress that I can't quickly show you in the next game. So I'll do that. I'll quit, go back to the main menu, and let's quickly roll up a new character. And I wanted to show you K-Leg as well. I've got about 12 minutes left on the stream, so hopefully there's time to do that. So we'll quickly blast through a new character. Let's do that. No. Okay, continue. Let's jury rig. Continue. Seduce, absolutely, seduce. This will be a fun skill set. All right, and then we have 1,300, which is not a lot of money, but I think it's enough to give us just a few things we can work with. We'll sell those coveralls again. Buy the work lamp. Again, with a couple of these guys. Probably won't afford the torch this time. So we're going to owe 923. That checks out. We've got 1,300. Okay, and then let's put on that suit, and we'll put the light on too. Okay, and then let's just do a quick check up here. Ooh, we are lacking a lot of positive personality traits. I'm going to get rid of feeble again. I am lustful, an insomniac, arrogant, a leader, charismatic, ambitious, slow metabolism. Well, let's choose a couple things. Let's be gregarious, comedian, loyal, and let's be stubborn. Okay. So we've balanced out our pros and cons, and we'll start with a new ship launch here. And launch. That's cool. Seems like something I would manage to do in real life. I'm reading Kamal's here, and yeah, there's a lot to remember in space, and I'm pretty sure I'd forget some crucial element to being in space. Okay, so Groundhog Day number 2 here. I'm going to hop on the Nav Station and get an idea of where we are. So we are, this time I think we're going to go over here to K-Leg. So I'm going to set that as a target. And because K-Leg is a station, all of this information is pre-filled. It is an air traffic control. It's got a transponder. So we get all that information. All of these other guys are basically just scraps or junk, and that's why we don't get any info on them when we click on them. So I am on the wrong side of the asteroid from this guy, and if I fly into the asteroid, I will crash. And maybe that'll be how I end the... I'll end the stream by crashing, so you can kind of get a sense for the damage systems. But for now, let's angle ourselves so we can do a dogleg trip around this asteroid. This will take a while, even with these cheatingly fast thrusters for the debug purposes. We're going to go up to 800 meters per second, fast forward a little so we don't have to wait through the whole thing. And then I am going to reorient like that. And I'm going to apply some burn. You can see my my projected path is changing as I apply forward thrust. So I'm kind of pushing back towards the planet here. And now if we look, my vector is basically going to take me like that. I'm going to push forward a little bit more. So now it's more like a vertical line that I'm following. And then I can use my left and right lateral thrusters. I'm going to use my left one right now, and you'll see this jump. So that thruster is pushing me this way to the port side of my ship, the left side of my ship. And we'll stop at 666 meters per second. Why not? So that'll take also a couple minutes. I'm going to fast forward again. And you can kind of see where these projections come in handy, because if I followed this path, I would hit that ship probably. Fast forward one more, or stop fast forwarding. And I'm going to apply some starboard thrust, or basically thrust up in this direction to stop moving towards the bottom of the screen. And then you're going to see the projections start to level off with my ship here. And then I'm going to angle a bit towards, towards that direction so we can close for final approach. Swiss is asking, can you put waypoints down for your character to follow, or is it all manual flying? In RCS mode, which is the local space maneuvering, you have to do manual currently. And actually, I'm going to hit... Do I have to hit pause? I'm going to slow down a bit just so I have time to talk. There are some things here to help, and there may be like an autopilot that'll do it for you. Because, as some people have pointed out, you may not want to be an astronaut in real life and know all of the systems for flying a ship. You just want to feel like you're an astronaut. So there may be some kind of like easy mode ways of flying, which may or may not be more, less efficient than doing it manually. So we're going to work out, I think, what the right balance is there. But I definitely want there to be, for those who want it, the ability to flip the switches and to do the actual flying if you want to. But just to maybe explain a few of the other things you're seeing here, these are default zoom amounts, like zoom out, zoom in. One goes all the way to the outer system. The map controls are kind of like Google Maps, like you can click and drag and rotate the map and things like that, which I don't think Google can do. But you can change what the cursor is following. I'm going to slow down here just so we don't crash. So I'm basically holding just outside port. So if I switch this to target, now the cursor is the center of the map. If I switch it back to ship, my ship is at the center of the map. And if I turn this off, the map is stuck in space and this orbits out of view. It's moving, like, that asteroid is moving really fast around the sun. So empty space, if we're just sitting still, it moves out of view fast, which is why we have these tracking modes. We also have this target and barycentric mode. Now, if I click and rotate here, it's like centered around my ship. And I think the barycentric mode, what that's doing is it's trying to choose a point between you and the nearest center of gravity. I'd have to ask Chris what his intention was there for that. I don't use that a lot, but I think it's cool enough to leave in there because you can see some really cool effects. If you're in like an orbital system around, say, Jupiter, where there's lots of moons around a planet, around a sun, this starts to become a little bit more useful because then your frame of reference isn't constantly moving around in weird ways because of the moons. It kind of like stays fixed in view of the moon. I'm doing a poor job of explaining it, so I'll stop. There's fast forward here, which I know a few people on the demo have actually tinkered with and weren't sure what they were doing. This fast forwards, actually, if I zoom out, let's go way out. This is the system. This is our solar system. If I fast forward this, so now it's 8 days per second. You can see some things here. Actually, if I go to the inner system, you'll definitely see some things here are moving around the sun. We're not actually fast forwarding real world time. We're just fast forwarding the map's projection. So if you want to know where a planet's going to be 8 days from now, this is one way to see it. And this is really more for long-term planning of a cross-system trip. We'll reset that though, and everything's back to where we are in reality. Over here, docking status is showing we are within 5 kilometers of something. That's the proximity warning. And then the dock sys clamp turns on if we're actually docked with the clamps on. And down here, these sort of controls are for when you are in a ship with a fusion torch, which is any of those ships with a red reactor in them. That fusion torch can basically produce 1 Earth gravity of acceleration for like a pretty good sized ship, and it can sustain it for a long time. And that's how you get from, say, Venus over here to Mars up here. In fact, I think if I right click up here, it'll still plot the course even though I don't have a thruster. This red dotted line is the course from here to Mars, which is up there. And it's telling me this trip with a fusion torch would take 5.02 days. I have 0 fuel, so I won't be able to make the trip. But if I were able to make the trip, I could also control how fast I get there by setting a maximum amount of Gs I'm willing to sustain. Most trips you're going to want to keep that around 1. But if you're really in a hurry, you can crank it up. And if you really want to basically limit thrust to like partial Gs, you could do that too. That's what all this is supposed to be, although there isn't a whole lot there right now. Similarly, when you engage your thruster, it will basically start doing an autopilot course to that destination. It's called a brachistochrone trajectory, or flip and burn, as they call it in Expanse. So you're basically accelerating halfway there, and then midway through you flip around and decelerate the other halfway, and that means the whole time you're accelerating, which inside the ship will feel like you have gravity in the opposite direction from which you're accelerating. Oh, I think I just crashed into something. Let's find out what I crashed into. Oh, well, I guess I was getting too close to K-leg. I don't think we had any damage from that. Oh, let me get out of here. But I should maybe check. I don't see any damage. I did promise a collision at the end of the game, or at the end of the stream, but before I collide, so I am going to try docking here just to show you K-leg. Actually drifting away here. All right, select K-leg. We're at under 5 kilometers. Coming in a little hot. We should be under 100. And then I'm going to switch to my docking UI. And we can see their docking ring is coming into view. I'm going to give it a little gusto. At around 600 or 700 meters, we can actually dock. So The goal is to get in there. Oh, I forgot. That's my bad. It's a station. Docking range is more like 1.7 kilometers, so I just crashed again. Terrible, terrible pilot. Alright, so let's line up one more time here. There we go. And we'll dock. Yeah, come on. I don't think we had any damage. Entire screen shakes. So yeah, oopsies. I'm glad you like the powering up the reactor Swiss. I like those control panels, and I'll probably throw as many of those in the game as I can. And yes, the Expanse is a good source for Ostranauts-like vibes. Okay, so we are on the surface of Ganymede now, Ganymede 1036, and this is K-Leg just below here. I'm not going to bother with airlock niceties here because I want my air to exchange with theirs. They're going to charge me for it anyway, so I might as well get the benefit. And this is K-Leg, which is a Nigerian shipbreaking facility on the asteroid. And still under development here, but this is meant to be like a security office, sort of an off-limits loading area. You're going to start to hear some clashing music in a minute here because Mescaform Bar is right there, and there's music coming out of there in the game, as well as music for being on this station the first time. So it's like diegetic music is playing in the station, but then there's also soundtrack music playing, and I have a bug to fix that so that you don't end up getting the clash. But there's a supply kiosk, a coffee machine, which is fairly new, and we don't get to check if our Mary Merritt is here because we started a new character, but this is probably... Let's just check. One of these people probably knows us, so it might be worth talking. I guess we had an ex-lover in our character creation that I forgot about. So yeah, we have Benita Nunez is our ex-lover, and she's feeling disrespected, selfish, oppressed, worthless, and ecstatic, which is... That is an interesting combination. I am not currently feeling anything because I literally just came out of the womb in the game terms about half an hour ago. So what's up, Benita? I have a feeling I'm going to get an earful or just completely silent treatment. Yep, she just ignored me. So actually, this is happening a couple times in current builds, and I think that's technically a bug. I'd like them to say something, not just ignore you. And similarly, in the demo and in this game, every conversation eventually whittles everyone down to being upset with each other. So that is a balancing content issue. So yeah, I guess this is K-Leg, and I did promise a crash, like an actual honest-to-goodness crash. So maybe that's the last thing I'll do here, and then I'll read a few questions from the chat before signing off. So we're coming back up here to Salvage Pod. Our ex-lover's here, and I don't hate her, so I'm going to close her airlock as well as mine. I got a message that I disconnected. Did you guys lose me?